Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to talk about one of the most boring boxes that Games Workshop has ever put together. Before we get into this proper, I just want to say a quick thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. We will hear more from them in a little bit, but before we get to that, we're going to talk about the Fyreslayers in Age of Sigmar. See, Fyreslayers have all the potential to be a fantastic, interesting and diverse model range, but you wouldn't know that from looking at their Vanguard box, because their Vanguard box is really quite, what's the way to put it? Yes, incredibly dull. This is the box in question, and as you can see, within this box, you get a bunch of lads with 2 axes and big hair, some more lads with 2 axes and big hair, a couple of lads with 1 axe on a chain and some big hair, and a bloke with a single axe and a totem with big hair. You can see where the issue is. This is possibly the least inspiring start to an army I think I've ever laid eyes on, and it's a real shame because the previous version of this box, the Start Collecting, as opposed to the Vanguard, well, that had a big old fire lizard thing in it, a magma droth, and it looked way more interesting than this. See, for me, to encourage someone to get into a faction, you need to show them something that grabs them. You need to really grip their attention with something that looks interesting and unique and has a bit of variety to it. Which, funnily enough, does allow me to segue oh so smoothly into today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. If there's a specific skill you're trying to learn, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. Photography, illustration, graphic design, even cooking, which, by the way, I saw this and it immediately made me hungry. If you're looking for something creative, you will find a class for that on Skillshare. We've talked before about photography classes on Skillshare, especially useful if you want to get the best shots of your newest painted miniature, but something you could do to go one step above and beyond is learn a bit of video editing as well, so you can put together a fancy little reel or video for Instagram or Twitter to properly show off your hard work. Personally, I'm working my way through advanced video editing with Adobe Premiere Pro by Geordie Vanderput, which I'm sure you, the viewer, will be happy to learn, because that just means that the videos are going to get better. And God knows you've been waiting long enough for that to happen, right? Skillshare is ad-free and there are new premium courses every single week, so if you're interested in joining Skillshare, the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code KiriothTV will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. The link's down there, the code's up there. Thank you very much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to looking at some slightly better boxes. Now, as it stands, there's only one other Vanguard box available on the Games Workshop site, which is this, the idaneth Deepkin box, and I think you can see what I mean when I say that the Fyreslayers one is really quite uninspiring compared to what else is available, even looking at Start Collecting boxes, which are not quite equivalent. This is far better. What do you actually get in this box? You have your HQ, you have a unit of infantry, but then you have actual interesting different things going on right at the top of the screen there. You got your 3 eels and you got your shark. That is far more fun just to look at. The prospect of this army, knowing nothing about idaneth Deepkin, I suggest that if you look at this box, you see something that's got a bit of variety. There's some visual interest there. There's clearly different units. Not all of these do or look the same. There is actually something to grab you and to say, hey, this is a force that has got some cool stuff in it. And the fact is that this just doesn't give that impression. This doesn't look interesting. This doesn't look varied. This doesn't look like something that you would pick up and go, oh wow, you know what, I really like the look of that one dude I will have like 20 of. Brilliant. It just doesn't have any sort of appeal as a box of models. What you want to see is variety and something to grab you. This doesn't have that. Funnily enough, it gets even worse when it comes to looking at these Start Collecting boxes. Instead of them every single one being 80 quid, these you've got ones that are 65, 52, 65, 57. There's a lot of variety in terms of just how much you pay and how many points you get. But they do have something going for them, these boxes, which is, you look at the Iron Jaws and you can see 10 infantry, a leader, and some boars. You look at the Slaves to Darkness box, you've got some cavalry, you've got a lord on a crazy mount, and you've got some infantry. Even the Gloomspite Gits looks really quite interesting, judging by that. You've got a bunch of squigs, you've got some gobbos, and you've got some troggoths. It's a good looking box. It is interesting, it's appealing, it catches you, and it makes you go, oh, you know what, there's a lot of variety in there, that's cool. And every single one of these is better for that than the Fyreslayers Vanguard box. I mean, even the Seraphon box has got a good amount of variety, and they haven't had anything new for approximately forever. What the Fyreslayers Vanguard box really does, though, is highlight an overall issue with the faction as a whole, in that there's really not a lot of variety going on with this lot at all. You have the Magmadroth, you have a few different versions of the Magmadroth, you've got Gotrek, brilliant, but everything else is various flavours of half-naked dude with big hair and a cool beard with a weapon, and that's your lot. That is what you have for this army, and it feels like this army really suffers from almost a lack of imagination. I mean, let's bore down into what the Fyreslayers are. They are essentially flame-themed berserkers. That is what you're getting from these guys. And there's so much that could be done with them that would actually pick up on both of those aspects. You could have elemental dwarves, elemental Fyreslayers, ones that have fully tapped into flame and fire, larger units that are still dwarf-like in shape, dwarf-like in aspect, but are bigger and more fierce, surrounded by roaring flames. There's already Magmadroths available. And so, why are there not more fire-based lizardy things available? They could easily branch out into having some sort of flying unit that is Magmadroth-esque. They could have packs of small baby Magmadroths that they could field. There's a lot that could be done with them that simply isn't approached. And I don't know whether it's a case of they're just not being the ideas, or whether they're just not worth putting the effort into. It kind of feels like they've been almost pushed into a corner as being one thing. They are dwarves with cool beards and massive weapons, and that's what they are. And we dare not stray from the path. We dare not increase the range. We dare not try anything else with them. After all, people might not like it if they look more interesting, or have more units, or more visual elements to them, or more of an interpretive thing in terms of their different characteristics. I don't know, but it's really weird, and it's kind of a shame, because it feels like a faction that could have a huge amount of potential, but you're not going to draw people in if you're presenting them with an intro box that is just a bunch of the same guy over and over again. I mean, stats-wise, War Scroll-wise, yeah, there are differences, but when you look at it, when you glance at it, when you pick that box up, you don't see those differences. You just see the same thing repeated over and over. And the thing that kind of frustrates me with the Fyreslayers is that it feels like they came so close to doing something really interesting and cool when they gave them the magmic invocations. I mean, this is cool stuff. There is a lava/fire/rock elemental pushing its way out of the ground right there. They clearly have access to this sort of thing. These are spells. They are endless spells. They are things that the Fyreslayers can call forth, can utilise. So why are they restricted to these three things? Why are we not seeing more in the way of this big angry on fire lad right here as part of an actual unit, as something that is more interesting and more core than the endless spell box? It feels like a lot could be done with this style, and yet there's none of it. There is this guy, and that's it. You've got a cool kind of wall thing, and there's just a spew of fire, and that's all fine and good. But there is an elemental aspect to this thing, and it's been used once, and then never again. Even though this fits super well. It fits with the Magmadroth, it fits with the overall feel of the Fyreslayers themselves, but that's never been explored. That's never been pushed forward beyond just the Magmic Invocations box. The fact is that, for me personally, it's just an incredibly uninspiring box, and feels like something that you wouldn't want to pick up unless you were trying to bolster an army of Fyreslayers. I don't understand how you're supposed to get people into the faction, how you're supposed to get them excited when you present them with something that just isn't all that appealing in terms of variety, in terms of overall look and feel. If you're a big fan of one particular dude, then maybe that's the box for you, but I feel like most people aren't. And if you present someone with that box and say, oh, and also they have this massive Magmadroth, wingless fire dragon lizard thing, you're not going to sit there and go, well, I mean, I'm glad they didn't stick that in the box, that would have just been rubbish. I feel like you would look at that and go, well, why didn't you lead with that? Why didn't you lead with the big rampaging monster with the hordes of berserkers running around it, instead of going, here's the berserkers, and the more interesting thing is somewhere over there? Just doesn't work for me personally. The question is, what do you think? Is this in fact the most boring box that Games Workshop have done, or am I being a bit harsh on the Fyreslayers? Do you think the range does need expanding, or do you think it's okay how it is? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Big thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring the video. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click if you like, don't click if you don't want to. As always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. I leave it in your capable hands, and I'll see you next time.